October 14th, 1995. Hartwell, Georgia. Population 4,200. The kind of small town where Main Street still has a hardware store and where the nicest restaurant is called the Magnolia Room. That Saturday evening, the Magnolia Room was about to become the center of a scandal that would destroy it forever. Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman walked through the front door at 7:15 p.m. They were scouting locations for Clint's next film. They'd spent the day driving back roads, looking at old farmhouses. Now they just wanted a good meal. The hostess stand was empty. The restaurant was half full, couples in their Sunday best, families celebrating birthdays. A man in a dark suit emerged from the back. Richard Cooper, owner for 15 years. His eyes landed on Morgan first, then Clint. For just a moment, Cooper's expression flickered. Something cold passed across his face before he arranged it into a professional smile. "Good evening, gentlemen. How can I help you?" "Table for two," Clint said. "Preferably something quiet." Cooper's smile didn't waver. "I'm terribly sorry, but we're fully booked this evening." Clint looked past Cooper into the dining room. At least 6 empty tables were visible. "Those tables are reserved," Cooper said quickly. "We have a large party coming at 8. Morgan had been quiet until now. He knew what was happening. He'd been through this before. "We can wait," Morgan said quietly. There was weariness in his voice that came from years of this. Cooper's smile tightened. "I'm afraid that won't be possible. Perhaps you could try the diner on Route 41. That's when Clint understood. This wasn't about reservations. This was about the color of Morgan's skin. To understand what happened next, you need to understand who Clint Eastwood was in 1995. He wasn't just a movie star. He was one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. Unforgiven had won him Best Director 2 years earlier. He could greenlight films with a phone call. But more importantly, Clint had watched the civil rights movement from inside the industry. He'd worked with black actors when other directors wouldn't. He'd used his power quietly to open doors others kept closed. Morgan Freeman was more than a co-star. They'd worked together on Unforgiven. They'd formed a friendship built on mutual respect. They were planning another collaboration, and now they were being told they couldn't eat there, not because of reservations, because of racism. Clint felt something cold settle in his chest, that familiar anger he'd learned to control over decades. Richard Cooper had made a calculation. He looked at 2 men in casual clothes and assumed they were nobody important. He didn't recognize Clint Eastwood, didn't know who Morgan Freeman was. He'd made that calculation based on one thing. Morgan was black, and in Cooper's restaurant, black people weren't served. Cooper had been doing this for years, quietly, politely, always with an excuse. "We're full." "Private party." The words changed, but the meaning stayed the same. He'd gotten away with it because Hartwell was small, because people didn't make waves. But Clint Eastwood wasn't from Hartwell, and he didn't care about how things had always been done. Clint didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. "Mr. Cooper," Clint said, reading the name tag, "let me be clear about what's happening. You're refusing to seat us because my friend is black." The restaurant went quiet. Conversation stopped. Forks paused. Everyone was listening. Cooper's face flushed. "Sir, I don't know what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating a fact. You looked at my friend and decided he wasn't welcome. And you used the reservation excuse because it sounds better than the truth." Cooper straightened his tie. "If you're not satisfied, you're welcome to dine elsewhere." Morgan put his hand on Clint's arm. "Let's just go. It's not worth it." But Clint didn't move. He looked at Cooper with those famous blue eyes, the same eyes that had stared down countless villains on screen. "What's your name?" "Richard Cooper. I own this establishment." "Good. I want to remember it, because tomorrow morning I'm making some phone calls. And by tomorrow afternoon, everyone in Georgia is going to know what kind of man Richard Cooper is." Cooper laughed. "And who exactly are you calling? This is my community. Nobody cares what some stranger thinks about how I run my business." Clint pulled out his wallet, not to pay, to show his driver's license. He held it up. Clinton Eastwood Jr. Cooper's face went pale. He'd just refused service to one of the most famous actors in the world. "Mr. Eastwood, Cooper started. "Too late," Clint said. He turned to Morgan. "Come on, we're leaving." But not because he told us to, because I don't want his money. They walked out into the Georgia evening. The sun was setting, painting Main Street orange and gold. You didn't have to do that, Morgan said quietly. I've dealt with this before. I know. That's the problem. Nobody should deal with this in 1995. They got in Clint's rental car, but instead of driving away, Clint pulled out his cell phone. First call, his assistant in Los Angeles. Nancy, Monday morning, contact every major newspaper in Georgia. Tell them I have a story about discrimination in Hartwell. Second call, the governor's office. Left a message about a civil rights issue. Third call, the location manager for his film. Change of plans. We're not filming in Hartwell. Find another town. Make sure everyone knows why we pulled out. Morgan watched this unfold. Clint, you don't have to burn the whole town down. I'm not burning down the town. I'm burning down one restaurant and making sure everyone knows why. Fourth call, his lawyer. I want every way to file a discrimination complaint against a restaurant in Georgia. Federal, state, local, every option. By the time Clint finished, it was dark. They drove to the next town over, found a diner that served them without question. You know this is going to become a big story, Morgan said. Clint Eastwood versus small-town racism. The media will eat it up. Good, let them. Maybe it'll make the next Richard Cooper think twice. Sunday morning, word spread through Hartwell like wildfire. Richard Cooper got his first call at 6 a.m. The mayor. Richard, what the hell did you do? Clint Eastwood's people contacted the governor's office. Said you refused to serve him and Morgan Freeman because of racism. Cooper tried to explain. It was a misunderstanding. The Atlanta paper is sending a reporter. They'll be here by noon. By 9 a.m., 3 more calls. The Chamber of Commerce, the Tourism Board, a state representative, all saying the same thing. This is bad. By 11 a.m., the first reporter arrived. She interviewed Cooper, who stuck to his story. Reservations, misunderstanding. Then she interviewed people who'd been there. Got a different story. How Cooper looked at Morgan and immediately said they were full. How Clint called him out. By 2 p.m., the story was online. Clint Eastwood claims discrimination at Georgia restaurant. By 4 p.m., national news, CNN, Entertainment Tonight, evening broadcasts. By 6 p.m., protesters outside the Magnolia Room, local NAACP chapter, college students from Atlanta. Closed for business or closed for racism? Cooper watched from inside. His phone kept ringing. Reservation cancellations. Every single one. Someone posted the restaurant's phone number online. Now he was getting calls from across the country, most calling to curse him out. His wife begged him to apologize, to close the restaurant. But Richard Cooper was stubborn. He'd built this restaurant. This was his town. He wasn't going to be bullied by some Hollywood actor. Monday morning, Hartwell woke up at the center of a national conversation about racism. The town split into camps. People who defended Cooper. He's a good man. He's lived here his whole life. This is blown out of proportion. They saw it as outsiders attacking their community, then people who were ashamed. Ashamed their town was on national news for discrimination. Ashamed they'd never questioned how the Magnolia Room was always full when certain people tried to get tables. The local black community wasn't surprised. They'd known about Cooper's policies for years. They just never had the power to do anything. But now Clint Eastwood had given them something. National attention, a platform, proof. By Tuesday, the governor issued a statement. Georgia welcomes everyone. Discrimination has no place in our state. The state's film commission announced they were reviewing Hartwell's eligibility for film tax credits. Suddenly, Cooper's racism wasn't just morally wrong, it was economically damaging. Hartwell's economy depended on tourism, on attracting film productions. All of that was evaporating. Tour buses rerouted. Production companies crossed Hartwell off their lists. Wednesday, local business owners visited Cooper. Richard, you need to apologize and close the restaurant. This is hurting everyone. I won't apologize for running my business my way. Then you're destroying this town's reputation because of your pride. Thursday, someone vandalized the Magnolia Room, spray-painted racist across the windows. The protesters kept coming, every day, peaceful but persistent. Friday morning, 1 week after the incident, Cooper opened an envelope from his insurance company. Notice of policy cancellation. His business liability insurance was dropping him. Too much risk, too much negative publicity. Without insurance, he couldn't legally operate. His lawyer called. Richard, the Justice Department is looking into whether you violated federal anti-discrimination laws. This could mean fines, criminal charges. Cooper sat in his empty restaurant. He'd had to close, not by choice because he couldn't get insurance. His head chef quit. I can't work for someone who does this. I have black friends, Richard. 2 servers quit. The dishwasher, the sous chef, the vendors stopped delivering, the produce company, the meat supplier, the wine distributor. Nobody wanted to be associated with racism. Cooper's wife left, went to stay with her sister, said she'd come back when he came to his senses. His phone rang. A lawyer representing restaurant chains. We're interested in purchasing your property. The Magnolia Room isn't for sale. Everything's for sale, Mr. Cooper. Right now, your property value is dropping by the hour. We're offering fair market value today, before it drops further. Cooper hung up. He wasn't selling. But that night, sitting alone in his house, he started to wonder, what legacy was he leaving? While Cooper's world crumbled, Clint Eastwood made more calls. He contacted the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, offered to fund any legal action they wanted to take. Whatever it costs, I'll cover it. He reached out to other directors, producers, studio heads. Georgia wants to be film-friendly, but they've got businesses like this. We need to make it clear. Diversity matters. The message was received. 3 major productions pulled out of Georgia locations. Clint did an interview with 60 Minutes. Calm, measured, devastating. I've been fortunate in my career, and with that comes responsibility. When I see injustice, when I see someone treated as less than because of their skin color, I have the power to do something. Not everyone has that power, so I'm going to use mine. The interviewer asked if he'd overreacted. Clint's response became viral. That classic Eastwood stare. I was there. I saw his face when he looked at Morgan. I saw 6 empty tables. I heard his tone change. This wasn't about reservations. This was about racism. Anyone who says different is lying. The interview aired Sunday night. 20 million viewers. By Monday morning, the Magnolia Room's Yelp page had 10,000 one-star reviews. Tourism websites removed the restaurant from recommendations. The building's property value dropped 40% in 2 weeks, and Cooper still refused to apologize. 3 weeks after the incident, Richard Cooper filed for bankruptcy. The Magnolia Room closed permanently. The building went up for sale. Nobody in Hartwell wanted to buy it. Too much negative history. Eventually, a restaurant group from Atlanta purchased it, gutted the interior, changed the name, reopened as The Open Table, with an explicit mission about welcoming everyone. Their first week, they donated 100% of profits to the local NAACP chapter. Cooper moved away, left Georgia entirely. Last anyone heard, he was in Alabama, working in his brother's insurance office. His family never spoke to him again. His wife divorced him. His adult children changed their last name. Hartwell slowly rebuilt its reputation. The town council passed a non-discrimination ordinance. Hartwell welcomes everyone became the new motto. They invited Clint and Morgan back. Formal apology from the mayor. Key to the city for both, a plaque on Main Street. Clint accepted graciously. I didn't do anything heroic. I just refused to accept injustice. Everyone should do that. Morgan was emotional. I've spent my life being told I don't belong places. This time I had a friend who said, that's not acceptable. Having someone use their power to defend you, that changes something. The Georgia film industry changed too. New protocols, diversity requirements, anti-discrimination training. The Magnolia Room incident became a case study, taught in business schools and civil rights courses. What happens when one person's racism meets another person's power and principles? Today, nearly 30 years later, people still talk about Hartwell, Georgia. The Open Table restaurant still operates in the same building. They have a small memorial inside, a photo of Clint and Morgan, a copy of the 60 Minutes transcript. Film students study Clint's response as an example of using power responsibly. Civil rights organizations point to it as a turning point. When economic pressure and celebrity activism combine to make discrimination too expensive to ignore, but the most important legacy might be the quietest one. Small-town restaurant owners who thought about refusing service because of race and remembered what happened to Richard Cooper and decided it wasn't worth it. Clint and Morgan worked together twice more. Million Dollar Baby, Invictus. Their friendship deepened. In interviews, Morgan always mentioned Hartwell. Clint didn't have to do what he did. He could have walked away, but he saw injustice and decided his comfort mattered less than what was right. Clint downplayed it. I just made some phone calls. Morgan's the one who's lived with this his whole life. But the people of Hartwell know different. They know that one man's decision to not accept discrimination changed their town, forced them to confront uncomfortable truths, made them better. Sometimes the strongest response isn't the loudest one. Sometimes it's the one that refuses to back down, that uses power wisely, that says simply and firmly, not acceptable, not here, not ever. That's the lesson of Hartwell. That's the legacy of a man who refused to let his friend be treated as less than.